Tumanello.
I'm here.
Elledge.
Here.
Benefield.
Here.
Ballinger. Harris.
Here.
Singer. Bailey Ferry.
Here.
Trainier.
Here.
Pizzalone.
Here.
We also have Mr. Eustace and Mr. Brooks.
Mary, why don't you start?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up, we have the approval of minutes from the April 3rd meeting. First and second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Under old business, we have the discussion of budget for the health department. I don't think we have anything new right now. The capital committee and select committee has been talking about schematic design. Do you have anything you guys want to talk about?
Yeah,
Talk about our meeting.
I think we should talk about the budget.
Okay.
The budget in the sense that, you know, just like we've set a budget on all our
Right.
projects. I think our goal is a $25 million budget. And I think it's kind of suggested that to Kluber and to the health department, they try to design and build to that number. Let's see if we can get to 25 million. That's unlike we did with the courthouse. Well, let's see what we can get for 150 million. So I do think we should officially say our target budget is $25 million to ensure that we're all on the same page with that.
Right, I just thought you wanted to wait till, because I know there's one more meeting coming up next, but I know you had talked about that in the original schematic design meeting that you just been to, so.
So that, you know, they know that, I think Kluber knows that we didn't meet with Kluber in the health department. I kind of indicated to them that they had a $25 million target budget. And there's in that schematic design that they did, and some of those estimates, you know, there's quite a bit.
Right, they do.
Yeah.
And you know, coming out of that meeting, they felt pretty good that those initial numbers, after relooking and revisiting some of the site design and some of the soft cost numbers that were originally presented to us before they had a chance to really dive in, were a little bit higher than what will end up being. So I think, you know, that $25 million number, what we're trying to really target is to make sure that we stay on budget, to see what we can get for the $25 million without cutting any crucial services or programming. So that's, you know, a good starting point, and actually they agreed as well. So we'll see moving forward.
Yeah, I saw in those minutes a lot of talk about circulation. They think that they can make the facility circulate better, which eliminates square footage, even though it's not usable square footage, just the way things circulate. So.
One of the things that I come out of the meeting with, which I was very surprised if anyone hasn't been on a full tour of the health department, I would strongly suggest it, because I was quite amazed at the scope and the size of the operation. You know, when I think the health department, I think it's maybe just like the health clinic, but when you start walking through the needs and the programming of the entire health department, it was quite overwhelming to be able to sit there and understand what our department has. So very fun on that front.
Okay, anybody have any other questions? Yeah, Rick?
Thanks, Ray, for that, because the more I listen to you, the wiser I become. My question was, how did we come at this 25 million, Jim? And listen to you, Ray, it sounds like it does fulfill our need with $25 million. So I guess my concern was that $25 million, are we getting what we need, half of what we need, more than what we need? So I was just curious how we come
So
about $25 million.
that's a really good question. That's the $20 million question, right? Make sure that we get everything we need. The way we went about it with the sheriff station was we did the programming first. They came back at a $70 million number, $60 million number, whatever DLR was at the time, and then we said, wait, hold on. You know, this is really where our target would be. And then we worked backwards, and we actually built an absolutely beautiful building for the sheriff's department within our budget. So as far as the courthouse, we started out at that 150. We went the opposite way, where we said, okay, let's see what we can get for this, and then we adjusted accordingly. I think that's what we're doing with the health department now. We feel good with that number. Kluber felt that we'd be able to include a tremendous amount of the programming and everything in for that number. And we understand that there may be some additional soft costs with site development that we may have to come back and look at a future date. But the goal is to not overspend our taxpayer dollars, but not cut any vital services and programming out of the health department. So 25 is a good initial number, and when they come back and show us what we get for 25, we may say at that time, that's way too much, you know, or we may say we may need to look at it just like we did with the sheriff's station and the courthouse.
All right, fantastic. Thank you.
I just like to make another comment in that regard. Well, first, Mr. Brooks, we don't set out to give people blank checks, you understand that. So no one gets a blank check, no matter what higher cause you think they may have. It was based on, the budget's based on somewhat on the work that has already been done. And seeing this square footage they need, looking at it, understanding costs of some areas, especially soft costs, that they were a little high. The estimates were very conservative. Even when you look at the square footage that perhaps is in there. You know, you might say, well, our average office, the average office size may be 150 square feet. They have 250 square feet. So we know that things can be shrunk. You know, so when we come out with a big wish list, and we know it's a wish list, and we look at all the programming, we realize that we have cost estimates. We take a good, I think, educated guess where that could be while meeting all the programming needs. So this is not something to pull out, but I do want to point out, nobody gets a blank check. I know, Herb, you might like to give them one, but that have to be on you. All right?
Give me one.
Okay. You want to give them a blank check.
So other things, so just to go further into some of the discussions, some of the things that were impacting those numbers were things like the tuberculosis center.
TB.
TB. So, okay.
Could never say it.
So the TB clinic, so they have their own levy, they have their own budget, so there is discussion, you know, do we include them into the health department building? If we do we use some of their funds, do we use some of their levy to pay for the overhead because they're paying possibly some overhead at their site? Now, there's a lot of things that are going into the entire thing. I will tell you this, I don't believe it's anyone's goal up here to build a health department that shortchanges the services to the residents of Will County. That's not going to happen. But on the same token, what's not going to happen is we're not going to waste the individuals' their money in the but there's a lot of different things in these meetings. I had the first one with Mr. Musis in the health department. I know I have invited Mr. Frizzalone at the next one, and Ms. Winfrey will be attending one. We're going to continue to go through and make sure that at the end of the day, it's sufficient for what the residents needs and it's within our budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to go on a comment, I'm glad Ray mentioned it. You know, TB clinic, you know, by law we have to have a TB clinic, and even though it's been, you think it was eradicated at one point, people still get TB. So they have to go to the clinic, and there are certain professions that have to go and get tested for TB on a regular basis and so forth. Now, what you may not realize is our TB clinic is on that site, and they're housed in a double-wide trailer. So during these discussions, it makes perfectly sense now to program them in this building. And they do have a levy, and maybe they would pay lease, maybe some rent and some utility costs in the building. So you know, we might, I feel we'll be putting additional services, not taking anything away into this building. So, and the TB clinic is, I believe, a good one. Now, they have a separate board, if those are not aware of, there's a TB board. And so the health department board is going to talk to the TB. So we'll get something going on that front. Something I think is very positive, that we didn't initially consider.
All right, so that 25 is going to be our target. I think there's a couple more meetings, and I think we'll be,
I think so.
real close to knowing that that is a really, really good number.
I would say by the June meeting, we'll have a very firm.
Yeah, especially after some of the borings are done, because we're starting that process. It's a real good feel.
Goal too is December.
Yeah, so
Right, you had some dates,
Yeah.
give us the dates.
I was going to talk about it in capital, but I can. So the goal for the health department is to be able to have the construction documents, the full 100% DD done and on the street by the end of November, possibly mid-December, to make sure that we take advantage of the good construction rates. Once we start pushing into January, February, as Mr. Moran pointed out in one of the meetings, it starts getting to the point where you have individuals that have already capped out for the year for work, they don't want to bid, now all of a sudden our costs go up. So I think playing to that tune and being able to fast track that, we'll be able to actually wind up saving money, getting more for our dollar, and I think that's our end goal. So at the end of the year, we look to be on the street for the health department.
And also give us the ability to know what, if any, more bonding we're gonna need to do. It was announced today, it looks like the feds are gonna hold on the rate, so we're not gonna have to rush in the next month. But we wanna be prepared for the end of the year to do whatever bonding we need at the end of it. We also have to do our bonding before April, I think it is, when we pass the original resolution, which gives you a 3-year window. So we'll be doing that by the end of the year, but we don't need to rush next month due to this recent announcement. And then, like I said, by June, when we're at that point, we're gonna know what our numbers are real close, so we should be in good shape by then. All right? All right, thanks. We'll get right to new business. First up is the appropriation of additional funds for tobacco control and prevention media campaign.
Move.
Move. Second.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
I saw something about salaries and fringes in there. Did I read something wrong? Or am I thinking of a
That
different
one?
item on the agenda?
Right, you
Yeah,
expect to say
under
numbers.
expenses, salary and
Right.
wages, fringe, I didn't understand that.
That's, Sue, maybe you could tell us on the money that goes into that program? You know somebody running that program, right?
Hi, good morning. Yes, we have a manager who works in that program, and we also have, partially in the program, about 13%, and then we also have a community health educator. So some of the local dollars will be picked up by the grant.
Expenses. Got it.
Yeah, most of it is the advertising, it's pretty expensive.
Yeah, no, I saw it, yeah, advertising's not cheap.
That percentage that you're using from this, you've been doing that on an annual basis, right?
Correct, yes, we've had that program for quite some time.
This is still all part of the tobacco settlement?
Yes, it is.
Grants, yeah.
Actually, we were notified that we were going to get this $100,000 about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months ago. But we purposely didn't appropriate it because we weren't sure we were really going to get it. So we waited until we
Got it.
received it in writing that we were going to get the money, and now we're appropriating it. And actually, we get 80% upfront. So as soon as we submit this, they'll give us 80% upfront, and then the 20% later as we bill.
Okay, we had a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next up is appropriating grant funds in the sheriff's budget for Department of Homeland Security Court Security Grant Program. Second, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next up is a resolution accepting a grant and appropriating special funds for fiscal year 2018 to Special Revenue Fund 273 for the Abandoned Residential Property Municipal Relief Program of the Illinois Housing Development Fund.
Second.
Second, any questions?
Just one. There was conversation in the paper, and I don't even know if this is the same grant. I think it is, just because the amount's the same. This is going to be used to fix up some older houses, not to like build one affordable house, right?
Yeah, I think it also knocks down houses too, if there's abandoned.
Okay.
But I think that Juliet had something to think about. I think that's a Juliet program.
Okay, that
You're
was separate.
referring to.
Yeah,
That's
that's
different
what I
from
got
ours.
now.
Yeah, I
Okay.
saw that, yeah.
So this will be used anywhere in the county that's unincorporated? Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And finally, authorizing county executive to execute necessary documents for delinquent tax program.
Move.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Do we have anything else new? Do we have any public comment? Steve?
Yeah, back in January, I FOIA'd the money that was paid to the land use department over and above their salaries. And I got the information back, and I had help from Melissa, thank you. We checked through it, and it was $68,000 in bonuses given out, and $5,000 was given to Kurt Paddock on December 31st. So that made me question all the rest of the departments under jurisdiction of the county executive. So I FOIA'd all the other departments for the same information. My FOIA was denied because it was considered too burdensome. Now, as a member of this finance committee, how am I supposed to vote logically on a budget, a levy, and all this other financial things when I don't know what they're giving away? And so I want to know, and I want to know why I can't get it. You know, I was told that they're working on it. Well, this has been going on for 2 months now, actually more than that, and I still don't have the information, and we're going to start going into budget and levy talks, and we need to know, you know, and how on earth was it ever approved that Kurt Paddock, who retired, got a $5,000 bonus on the way out? I mean, come on. This is our taxpayers' dollars, and I'm kind of aggravated that I can't get the information, and every time I ask about it, somebody's working on it, or it's going to come, or whatever, and I'm tired of having it going to come. I want it so I know what I'm voting on, and everyone on this committee here needs to know how much money is being doled out without us knowing about it. And there's an argument that, well, it's better to give bonuses than a raise. Well, I don't know if that's true or false, but I got to know why they're going to get a bonus or a raise. And then if we're going to give them a raise or a bonus, there should be a line item that it comes from. It shouldn't just be willy-nilly that the county executive goes ahead and lets this happen. And maybe it isn't him. I'm just assuming it's him, but I don't even know if that's the fact. And I want to know the answers before the budget, before we start voting on the levy or the budget.
Let me say,
Jim?
first, I don't know why a county board member, a member of this committee, has to FOIA anything. When we request the information, we should be given the information. You know, and then to be denied a FOIA, Mary, I don't know, is that their FOIA officer who does that?
I think that was from the treasurer's office. And I think it's in part the way he asked for the information.
Okay.
It's several years and it's all the employees, and we have to pull all these payrolls and go through individual paycheck by paycheck for 3,000 employees over several years. So, because our finance system just doesn't aggregate that.
The county executive knows, his office should know who he gave bonuses to. Just, the mere fact that we have to go to the treasurer to get the information and not get the information from the county executive's office is, I think, a little strange to me. That means that the county executive's office, I'm not saying, would indicate they're not giving the information. I don't know if that's true. So let me say, first, I'm going to say that, when I came on this board, we had a personnel budget. And what that is there's a line item for every single employee. And you can't move that money from one employee to another. Quite frankly, it's not something I supported. I did feel you give money to the officers and let them manage their office. But I didn't ever anticipate that people would be given bonuses. This board makes a determination whether we're going to allow additional funding for raises, for example. Or we tell them you can give raises or that can give you any additional appropriation. This idea that I think what happens, and I don't think it's exclusive to the executive's office, by the way. you know, the unfilled positions, they let them sit there, they have excess funds, and then they give out whatever, a perk, a bonus. With my concern, with real no criteria, how you would get a bonus. I like Nick, I give Nick a bonus. I don't like Ken as much, yeah, I don't want to Ken. You know, I mean, what's the criteria for giving a bonus? I mean, there should be some methodology for it. Maybe they have it in their office. I don't know. But the only thing that's going to wind up occurring is, from my perspective, is they'll reduce the personnel budgets, and you'll have less money to manage. I mean, not only for the executive's office, but it'd be for any office. Because it tells me that we're overfunding you. Speaking about bonuses, then we're overfunding you. So, you know, I think it's something we need to work out before the next budget round starts. If you want a little pool of money to say, you know, we'd like to give out some perks or some bonuses based on this criteria, then we should have that discussion and maybe put it in the budget. But, you know, it's kind of like, you know, it's just not upfront. Let's put it that way. It's not very transparent, and I think it should be a little more transparent.
Jackie?
Otherwise, we'll have to try to take a spot.
Sure. Jackie had a question. No?
All I wanted to say was that I don't believe that we should be in the business of micromanaging. I think all of us are aware that we haven't been putting any money in the budget for the non-represented, well, we haven't been putting money for the represented employees for their pay raises, and that, you know, people are picking up extra work. I would assume that, you know, bonuses go out since nobody's getting pay raises. Again, I would say that it's probably less of a financial burden because we're not paying a pension on that, but I'm not against the idea of creating a pool of money for bonuses. I think that's a fine idea if we want to actually know how much money is available, but I just didn't know that we were into that kind of micromanagement. That's all.
Well, wait.
Can I mean, just number one, I mean, and we can talk semantics, but they're not bonuses. We don't give out bonuses because when board members say bonuses, the public hears like the private sector. When you reach a sales quota, you get a bonus. They're not bonuses. Now, I'm going to give an argument on this. They're stipends. And the reason they're stipends is because they're not going to the base. They don't add to the long-term cost of the county. And there is a rationale, and this is a much larger topic, which I'd be glad to have and come prepared to discuss on the specific issue of compensation, and I think we need to do a little further study. I'm not going to say that you guys are going to be convinced and say, oh, we got to pay people more, but I think it's time to do a compensation review study so we look at what we're paying our managers versus our peers, just so we know. Either we're competitive, we're above, maybe, we're below, but just try to keep this simple, is we the board approves union contracts. You may not like them, but we approve them, and they have steps built in. So all our union employees get the mandated, contractually agreed to step increases, and that figures into their total compensation, their health benefits, salaries, etc. So historically, the union employees continue to get increases, steps, COLAs, what have you. The management people do not get that, guaranteed at all. And they accept that as management. But it's become more difficult in some positions to get people who are union employees to climb the career ladder to management because there's no guarantee that they're going to get increases. And as Jim said, the county used to do, I think before I was here, that personnel budget. And then the shift was, we're budgeting for a number. Live within your budget. That's what we've been told year after year after year. And I'm not going to say there's exceptions, but most people live within their budget and they manage their budget. So if, for example, in the executive's office, we did give stipends because just like with the union employees, we said, okay, we're asking you to pay more for your insurance to offset some of that, and to kind of, with the union, we bought those increases in healthcare costs, by giving them COLAs and steps and what have you. Well, for our managers, we did the same thing so that people aren't losing money working here. And I hear the argument, I've used it before, I don't like it. It's like, if you don't want to be here, you can go somewhere else. And people have left. We've lost a lot of good people to other governmental units or the private sector, which is always going to be the case, but we don't need to accelerate that, because what we get then is a brain drain as people leave. But to Mary's point, the finance system doesn't allow us to do these wholesale year, and it's unfortunate. And Julia Gallows, who's not here, I don't think, she has been sitting in on those interviews. Our new system will allow us to do a lot more data analytics, which you'll have more information than you probably ever want access to. But I come back to, the board has given the executive's office and others the direction, live within your budget. And I think for the most part, people have done that. In the land use department, which is the proverbial horse we beat, they have shrunk their staff over the years, which was to accommodate the decline in work. And that's a good thing, I think. But we've also tracked it very carefully of productivity among their staff has increased. So with less people, we're doing much more work with the systems they've put in place. So I will have the conversation, and I would say during the budget process is a good time to have it, paying people, because there are some departments that did salary comparisons. What the union got over 10 years was maybe 20+% if you add it all together, where the management was nowhere near that. So, but if you want, I don't want to start a problem with the union, but the managers are there to supervise and manage and drive the mission that I think the board sets out. If you don't show them some appreciation for that, it's hard to get them motivated, and money is one of those factors, not the only one. But
no one's here to micromanage, but I think it behooves you and other departments to kind of let us know what's going on, so you don't have someone finding out this stuff is happening, especially when someone on the way out the door gets.
I have to check on that, because I'm not sure if that's accurate, but
It's accurate, I got the papers.
Well, we may have gotten part of his severance money, so that might be the payout.
there is payout when people have vacation and
sick
sick time.
So he would have,
And we have ideas that I've been trying to get this thing forward, and I'd like to talk to Mike and Mr. Moustis about, is there are ways, as part of some of the even contractual stuff, of managing our long-term liability as far as vacation and stuff, to pay some of that out earlier and not at the end of the career, because we have had significant payouts for a few positions that significantly drives up their pension obligation, which I don't think a lot of people would be favorable to when you look at the numbers, because there's huge payouts for people who've accumulated time when they were paid $60,000 and they cash it out at $120,000. It's a great 401k program.
Some of them is 6 figures.
Exactly.
I would think we need to be more worried about that.
Well, Nick's obviously getting the stipend, so he's talking in favor of stipends and bonuses. I mean, come on, let's just put it on the line. Why don't we know, all of us, how much money was given out? If we knew that 68,000 was given out, wait a minute, we were going to close half the health department down because we ran out of money. And then Mike went and found money to help him out, and lo and behold, we're giving bonuses.
Steve, this is not we're not arguing here. I mean, we're not beating up on people here. You know, let me say, if you think that the executive's office is not going to give out stipends, you're wrong. Others do it also. I think the issue really becomes this, and that is the same. We give out stipends if the budget allows. You know what? I'm not necessarily against paying people or giving people a little extra when they've gone the extra mile and they've done the extra work, or they've covered for somebody else because we didn't fill that position. And we want to be fair, and we have lost a lot of good people over the years. I've seen them. You know, some really good people leave because of compensation. Because of they throws me out, but, you know, I think that freezes me out, you know. But you know, so you know, it's because you're unaware of it, you know, it doesn't mean they did anything wrong. I think that we just need to have elected officials say that, you know, if budget allows, we will give out some stipends. Or just ask for a transfer into another, line items into another, that's for the stipend, as long as it's within the first round. And say we're giving out some stipends. You know, we call it, you call them stipends, call them bonuses. You know, it's a little extra for the people who've done a little extra work. And I agree that our management people especially go years without a raise. Now, most of the union folks get a raise every year because they're in the pay plan. So they're getting their 2.5%, 3%. I think we have one pay plan that's 4%. Every year they're getting this raise. But already having to get to this like pre-negotiated. Even when the contract runs out, they keep getting it. You know, which I've always thought is a little strange with paying past practice, what they tell me. So, but you know, we're not here to beat up on people. We're here to say, hey, well, what's a better way of addressing it and keeping us informed and a little more transparency? I think that's what we're looking for here. We're not looking to beat up on people or argue with them here. You know, and we should address it within the budget process. Is, I think, what we really need to get to. Is something like that you can address, but not only the executive's office. I can tell you all the others that give out stipends, and it's almost every office holder. Maybe some of those real small offices may not, because they don't have much of a budget, because they're small operations. But the larger ones, I guarantee you, Steve, every one of them is giving a stipend. So it's just not the executive's office. It's just the idea of having us aware of it, I think. That's it.
Great.
I'm going to shut up unless you start screaming again.
Great.
Low voice, soft voice. Yeah.
So with regard to stipend, I hope there's some real differences, because when you think of bonus, you think of the private sector. And I give bonuses to my employees, and there's implications on me as the company owner and no one else. So I could make those decisions, and I give, and it affects their 401k, it affects the unemployment insurance that we pay in. So these stipends from, I mean, I don't know if we're shopping out there, but we could, how does that work from a financial implication? Is it, so I'm just using the claim that someone got at $5,000. Do they just get a check for $5,000, or are there the unemployment taxes associated with
All
that?
of the taxes
So
would
all of
come
the
out-
taxes do
come out of
come out of
that.
that as well?
So their net may not be that 5,000.
Right, but the county is also on the hook from an unemployment insurance, from a work comp insurance, from all those other things that IMRF, is that IMRF as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So there is implications on, so it and I know, I'm sorry,
One time, it's one time.
right, I
It's not
understand.
like,
We wouldn't be able to do it for year after year. If we put it all as a base, we would be overspending our budget.
On an annual basis.
Right.
And this is how we manage our budget. And I, like I said, I'd be happy to come back and give you specific examples of that. But it's, I mean, we come through the budget process every year, and we don't have detailed conversations at that point a lot of times in this, at least not in a public meeting. I mean, if we want to go through, but I hear you say you don't want to micromanage, so when you say live within your budgets, we're living within our budgets, and we're doing the best.
I'm not questioning that, I'm just asking, I just want to see
Right.
where, what
It's
the
all-
difference between a real bonus and a stipend is, or do we just call the same thing, two different names?
Well, bonus has a different connotation, you're right.
Yeah, it does have a different connotation, because when if the press out there writes that everyone's getting bonuses, that it's different than, you know.
And that's why I wanted to be clear on that.
Right, so, but I wanted to just understand the implications to the county on the financial end of doing that, that's all.
Look, but we budget for that
I
salary.
understand.
All those benefits are on
Are already
that dollar, are on that dollar.
So there's no
It's not
additional.
It's not increasing.
I understand.
So as we go into the budget process, though, we should at least have the departments talk to us about this. I don't think any department ever says to you, do they, Melissa or Sean, we're gonna give stipends at the end of the year? Do they ever say that?
No, but one of the questions we do get asked, and to make you aware, since we're talking about budget and that process will be coming up, Melissa and I, when we're in our budget conferences, we get asked by department heads, has the board given any direction as to, you know, what we can do as far as giving our people increases, because the union or the contractual increases those people are going to receive those increases. So we get asked, so it would be helpful if we have these discussions beforehand so that we can give, that direction to the department heads.
Okay.
I just want to say, I am all in favor of a salary study. I think we should be comparing, not that we ever seem to follow what the other counties do, because I learned that at the last meeting when it came to our salaries. And if we want to just keep cutting ourselves, I think that's fine, but I think we're hurting the county with the brain drain, with people going to other counties with their great talents. I think we ought to do a salary study. We ought to look at these. We do it for the union employees, and we have not done anything for the unrepresented employees. I've been on the board 10 years almost, and I don't recall that. And then the other thing I would say, whether you call it a bonus, whether you call it a stipend, I would say that I did not run for my position on the county board to please the press. I think we're all here to do a good job, and if they get upset because we're dealing with real problems, that's their role. Yeah.
The connotation that the individual.
Well, yeah, but that's not the case, though. I mean, that's not the case, because we haven't looked at the salaries of any of these folks, and we all know we've lost people.
Okay.
No, the reason I got so upset is that I need to know what I'm voting on. And by denying me that information, that's what's happened. And we haven't talked about that ever. We need to know what we're doing. If we want to say that they can get a raise like the union people, that's a different issue. We didn't look at it, and the county board didn't say it. We didn't budget for it. We just all of a sudden have the missing money, so we could have.
It's not missing.
It was appropriated money.
It was appropriated, but it was spent on something that we didn't.
No. We don't want to, I don't want to give you that idea. It was
If I didn't know about it until recently.
The money is there, Steve. The money is there, and it's there for salary.
And we have a policy that if
I
a
don't
board
think-
member wanted something, they had to go through Speaker Moostis to get it. Did that policy change? That if the county board wanted some data, some information, that we were supposed to go to Jim to ask for.
Well,
So I don't even know why FOIA is entering.
Well, let me say this. I do think my preference is that county board members, when they're asking for information from an office, that it comes through the county board office.
Right.
And then if for some reason the county board office is told they're not giving the information, then I think that's more of a problem. In the case of the executive's office, the executive's office basically has to give the county board any information they request, which comes from the office. I mean, there's a whole different relationship there. So we could make the request through the county board office, but it was never asked. They may ask Melissa if she had the information, but she doesn't necessarily have the information.
But I do have the backup and the support that we're given at the budget conferences. I have all that.
So let me say this about salaries. I believe our non-union folks are pretty well compensated. I don't think that's the problem. Part of the problem is we have different salary ranges between one office and another. I just heard from an office, someone today that said, well, they lost a person who went to another department, both entry-level jobs. The entry-level job at the land use pays more than the entry-level job in our office. So I think that's something we have to also look internally, how salaries are amongst offices for similar type jobs. The problem is, and I don't believe the non-exempt employee. I think where we may fall short is with management. That's where we fall short. I mean, we don't lose people who are, like I say, an exempt employee, whether they be administrative assistant to the executive or whatever. We don't lose those people, but we do lose finance directors, we lose heads of land use department, those types of jobs we probably fall a little short on. The first thing I'd like to do, if we're gonna do anything salary-wise, I'd like to see us look at internally how the comps are for similar type jobs. I think, Bruce Tidwell here?
Is not.
He's not. Well, Bruce can do this in his spare time. You know, and maybe Bruce Tidwell, along with the payroll department, whatever. Maybe the new financial software will help us with that.
Well, to answer that question, I have two quick clarifications. On that issue, just as an example with the union contracts, because we're doing different steps during the year, which reduce the cost, that's all, a lot of that's done manually, so our our payroll people are spending hours and hours and weeks doing all the employees, because it also be done, it's pretty ridiculous, the process they're going through. With the new finance system, that will be much better, is my understanding, so that'll be better. Two quick clarifications. One, on the issue with the non-union salaries, at one point, the county did budget, I don't know when that stopped, maybe Melissa, you remember, but we used to budget within the budgets for salary increases, and it was allotted in the budgets, so that when we agreed to a union contract, there was some money in the various elected officials and departments' budgets. We stopped doing that for whatever reason, but that stopped, and now those lines are zero. And again, it goes back to people live within their budgets. So the board approves the budgets for everybody, and unless they come back and ask for more money and you grant them more money, they're living with whatever you approved in November. So but I just want, has been some money allowed for, basically, I would say allocated in the budgets, because we've not had zero increases for the management or non-union people, but it's been much, much, much smaller than percentage-wise than with the union. So, and frankly, for the management team that sits in negotiations, they sit and hear all the arguments for increases and keeping healthcare costs down, and then they go, and you're getting nothing. You know, you're going to pay more and you're not going to get any money. That's hard for them as well. Second point, and I don't want to, we all work together in the county, the elected officials, whatever, but the FOIA that Mr. Valich was denied was not from our office, it was the treasurer's office, and it's to the point of what Mary, I think, already stated. It was too cumbersome. It would have taken weeks or maybe months to compile. So what we often do with those people, and I don't know if this happens, Steve, is that we sit down with the people and say, what are you really looking for? We'll try to get you it, but it's like if we're going to have to pull somebody off doing all their day jobs for a month to do that, I mean, that's, because we get those where people want us to do some really cumbersome thing. So I don't know, we can look into it, but it wasn't the executive's office who denied it.
No, I was asked, and I said, I want to find, I told them, I narrowed it down really good.
It was the treasurer. You can talk to our office.
Well, people from your office asked me, because the treasurer gave it to your office. And I told them exactly what I wanted, and any money that was over their salary, I wanted to know what it was. But you know what, it's just about transparency, that's all. I'm not saying that they should or should not get more money. I'm saying we need to know about it, how it's spent in a line item like
I
this.
think we'll talk to Bruce. We do need to get at least an internal study done, where management's at. And I'd also like to see in that is, you know, we keep talking about the people we lost. I'd like department by department to tell us what they lost, personnel-wise, that was strategic. You know, if the middle person left because they wanted to go out somewhere else, or they moved to another department, we should have some records of that, or some information on that, so we can at least make a determination why these things were happening. Once we do that, then we need to set our guidelines for the next budget process.
So,
Yeah.
Well, we need to do that
so
soon.
budget, I was gonna say, because I would like to get those guidelines out
This week.
this week, so that the departments will have enough time, because the budget conferences have been set by me, but I need to get them out to the departments so that they can fit them within their schedules for me. So I want to allow them enough time to do that.
Well, if you told them there was no increases and we came back and had put increases in there, that's going to be a problem for them?
No.
Right. We're not going to say, put increases in there and then take them away.
Okay.
So we start on the premise that we're holding flat for right now, and we do these studies and then see what we can add. All right, do you have any other comment, public comment? Chairman has no report, don't have any executive session, so.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried, thank you.